Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Let's focus on receiving. I give myself permission to receive. I am willing to receive. I allow myself to receive infinite blessings that are constantly coming my way. I graciously receive the beautiful gifts that I am given, and my gratitude allows me to share this gift with others. And the more I allow myself to receive, the more I am able to give. And with great gratitude, we will now receive not just the message from Kryon, but the deep love and honouring that Kryon has for you.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. This is the fourth and final channel that we will discuss the faces of fear. Again, let me say I am aware that this is given today for those who are part of the Circle of 12, a closed membership that you have elected to be in. But the channel itself is available later for all of those who wish to hear the message. We will not confine or close important information and messages to a few. This has been the way of it and will continue to be. So if you have come across this message and you're finding that it's 4 of 4 and you want to know where the other 3 are, they're right where you found this one. If it is not, it's easily discoverable because they've all been recorded and presented. We speak of fear, and we have for many, many years. This one in particular, I have saved till last. It is probably the most complex and also one of the most controversial. Because there will be those who say, I don't believe that's where the fear came from. I have to tell you a story. As you sit there, listening, watching, your mind, your consciousness, your soul, all that makes up you is more than you. There is a tremendous influence of your lineage. It is all through your body. If you look at it chemically alone, you have that which scientists understand is inheritance. You would inherit perhaps certain traits from your parents through the bloodline, through the combination that creates your DNA. And it goes back quite a far piece. Your grandparents, the ones before that, the ones before that, all of that is in there. And some of you will look at it and say, that is why my fingers look the way they do, or my face looks, or my hair. And you will start to say, and that is the end of it. It is not. Because there is also consciousness, talents, things that have happened that influenced the ancestors' lives that you carry. Is it possible, for instance, that you had a great-great-grandmother, or perhaps even further, and there were issues with that woman regarding childbirth, something that is very important to a woman? Is it possible that it could be then carried and carried and carried and carried And what you then end up with in your life is the same issue. Because you might say there's a residual because it was such a big issue. Now that's chemistry. First of all, the answer to that question is yes. You are a combination of all of them. And not that you have all of their traits or their fears or their talents. You have the ones that were past that had the most influence and perhaps were the highest perceived ones that they had. It's in there, all of it. Sometimes it doesn't show itself until certain other things happen, and then you even surprise yourself. Like finding, for instance, you were talented to do something you'd never tried. And then later you find a great-grandmother who was also talented in the same thing. But again, that is chemistry. Now let's put upon this the controversial one, past lives. Is it possible that your own soul's journey through the civilizations of the planet carry things also that have happened in the past that you've carried right up to this, you now and your future? This goes to perhaps many times you might have been a sailor, and then you awaken now and you realize you still want to be a sailor. This is mostly for the men. This happens constantly, and you'll find it even today under the guise that policemen, become policemen, and firemen, and they even live together, and you'll say, well, my dad did it, so I'm doing it. What if it was inbred in you for past lives because 2 or 3 lives ago you were also doing it? And so it was absolutely natural for you. Now that is something that you want to do because you say that it's in your blood, but what if you've done it in the past? Turn the corner. What if you had in your immediate past life a drowning? And today you find yourself not wanting to be even near water. Dear ones, these are fears based upon the past. These fears are exceptionally real. They keep you from doing things that you might really want to do. And these things that keep you from doing might be wonderful things. Sometimes you're kept from having a partnership that works. Because sometime in some past life, you learn something that is a process or an attribute that you carry in that makes it so partnering is difficult. There are some who have made up their minds that they want to have 100 children because that's all they've ever wanted to do. Perhaps it's because in the last 2 or 3 lives, they couldn't have any. Perhaps you come in and say, I really don't want children. Maybe you had a lot of them in the past lives. So you see, it's not all fear, but there are influences. But the fears, in the face of fear, the one we talk about right now is the one that would be fear from past experiences of either yourself or your ancestors that are carried into your own psyche today. We have spoken of this in channel after channel. And you might say, all right, I know this is true. I don't know what fears I have, but in retrospect, you're right, Kryon, because there are things that I shy away from doing. I don't like confrontation. And there are others, by the way, who love it. You might say, well, there are certain kinds of things I will and will not do, and you say, and I never understood what the hesitation was. This is love. These are, you might call them imprints from the past. What I want to tell you is that you all have them. I want to, again, diverse. If you're a mother and you have more than one child, especially let us say they are the same gender. Let's say you have 2 boys, same parents, maybe they're even close, the same mother and father, the 2 boys, maybe they're close together in age. and they're vastly different. And you might say, how does that occur? One is afraid of their shadow and the other one is a achiever. And you go, they're from the same gene pool, my husband and I. Dear ones, you're taking a look at the variety of the imprints from the ancestors and their own past lives. They are trying now to make up for certain things that didn't happen or relax for certain things that did before. They're still learning. This is I would say, a catalyst for you to understand some of the fears you have that are not understandable otherwise. I have said this before, and I will say it again. Every imprint that you have, like this one, based upon your ancestry, based upon your past life, or your bloodline, every single one of them is rewritable. There is nothing set in stone. It is simply a starting place, just a starting place. It's an invitation for you to discover what they are, analyze them for what they are, never want to stand on stage. The man was afraid, and the afraid was acceptance. Like so many of you who do not want to do public speaking, when all the eyes are on you, it is not a comfortable feeling foremost. For some, they crave it. And when he went to me, and he said, what am I going to do about this fear? I am afraid, Kryon, to be in front of people. I lose my place. I stammer. I stutter. I can't think of what I'm doing. I'm not relaxed, and people see it immediately, and that the message is not a good one because of that. And so I told him, and he has told many of this story. I said, I want you to go back into Greece. Were you an orator on stage? And people sat and listened to your poetry. They loved the wisdom that you had and the phrases that you used. Go back and mine that. Like a miner goes and digs in the ground for the golden nugget. That's the golden nugget that is in your past that you can now pull forward to your present. Do you see how this might work both ways? You might have fears that crop up from a past life, and you may have other lives that are past where it was all mitigated and was all beautiful. That is what he did. The result is what you see, is that he can step on a stage with thousands looking at him and be completely and totally relaxed. This took a while, but each time he stepped out, he said, I am the orator, and then he would go on stage. It was him. He wasn't pretending, he wasn't role-playing, because it belonged to him. All of the things that you have experienced in your past lives are still you in a certain way. It allows for you then to rewrite them, to unscramble the puzzle, and to work with the things that might bother you. But in addition, remember, there's also talents and revelation. I have said this to you before, and I'll say it again, that your awakening to these truths today will mean that when you are reborn, after you pass through the veil and after you go through all of this lifetime, when you return, this awakening today will stay with you. You never have to do it again. That's part of the new energy. Oh, there's so much more. I need to give a channel yet again of the attributes of the new energy that change absolutely everything you think you knew, especially about past lives and future lives. There is so much hope. Remember this. What you learn today, you'll remember next time. What have you learned today? Do not fear the past. It has no control over you. Not really. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service.
I sit in a place that is known. That is to say, known is that those who are here are known. I have known them forever. Forever is a circle. A beautiful ring without a beginning or an end that represents the creative energy of the universe. And the pieces of those creative parts are partially here. And this is what I wish to speak of in these few moments together. Sometimes there are channels which have a great deal to impart. I've got some specifics to give you, but they are known by my partner, even some of them, in his series of lectures. But some of you need to hear it from me. Oh, dear one, there is purpose in your life. And some of the struggles that are here, the ones that are listening and reading in this room before me corporally, it's about shift. And the frustrations that you may have this day, the misunderstandings that you may leave with this day because you didn't necessarily grab on to the perception of a multidimensional part and being, all of these things won't matter. Because what is coming is an increased awareness of a part and a piece of the human being that we rarely speak of. We've talked about the grids changing. We've talked about the recalibration of knowledge and self. We don't often talk about what is really truly going to change that is a core issue in the human. You make assumptions as we move forward that your reality does not move forward, that you've got to accomplish all of the things that we discuss in an energy that you have been in. And we tell you this is not the case. You are turning a corner. This corner is a slow turn, but it's a corner. Dear one, you're already starting to see young people born that are different than you. And if you could measure their DNA chemically, you would see the same set of chemicals you've always seen. So something else is changing, and I will tell you, it's in the DNA, but it's not seeable, for it is quantum, it is multidimensional. The very imprints of the DNA efficiency level are increasing, and that creates a human being who thinks differently. A precursor to human beings who will be born with an instinct that will not create war. That's just the partial of it. I want to tell you what is really, truly, potentially going on. With free choice, you have agreed to turn this corner, and we are seeing you do it. It's been too long without a war, a really big one, you might say. Oh, there may be small ones to come. You can count on it. But the one that everybody expects is not going to happen. The doom and gloom that you've been told about economies falling over, about all of these things that potentially are in your face, don't be shocked and surprised when some of the wild cards appear and things get better. It's interesting, isn't it, what happens when things get better? Nobody talks about it. But if they get worse, Everybody talks about it. Now that is a human nature attribute that will also change. Now this is not new news. This one is a summary, and then I'll get on to the new. And the summary states that the human nature is going to be more attracted to light than dark. Get ready for it. A whole shift in what you want to watch and your entertainment. What you'll respond to. What those who will sell you things you call commercials will create for your interest. How politics might start to move. Come a day when you come back and you watch the commercials today that you have for politics, and you will cringe. Because they're drama-driven, fear-driven, even hate-driven. Can human nature change that much? We told you you are in the process of this. Now, what we're going to tell you is that in the process of a recalibrating human being is attitudinal change. But more than that, you're going to have to change communication with Spirit. And so we start to tell you what is going on that is under the hood between you and I. Old souls are going to see it first. Old souls are going to start to experience things. The communication with the Akash is going to be fearful for some. For you're going to start dreaming very real dreams of who you've been. The Akash comes to the surface as the multidimensionality of a human being becomes more active. What we are telling you is that your past lives' experience start to meld with your current life in ways that you have to understand so that they don't frighten you. That's one. And so the admonition is, do not be concerned or frightened if you start to hear and see and feel who you've been in a very real way. This is communication. You with your higher self. For the higher self is the one who has been there for every past life. The Akashic record in your DNA heats up, you might say, and the soup starts to boil. And the vapor that it creates, this is metaphorical, spills over into 3D and you feel things and you wonder about the appropriateness of things. Expect it. Oh soul, this is for you. I'm talking to you. Number 2, you're going to start having a more succinct relationship with the subconscious. That is to say, the intelligent part of your body, which we have called innate, is going to start contacting you in a better way. Don't be shocked if you don't have to do kinesiology ever again, old soul. If your intuition starts talking to you about what your body needs, and it never did before. This is all part of what you are creating in a DNA that works better than it did the last generation. The children of today are having an attribute that you did not. They're thinking more conceptually, and that is going to create systems you never thought of. These will be systems you're going to need that you never had before, because they're going to be able to put together unequally yoked entities. I will leave it at that. But just to say, you're going to need this, dear ones, for peace on the planet. Putting together unequally yoked entities. Call it countries or consciousness or culture or religion. You can make it up if you want to. I'm just telling you, there are systems that are going to work, and you never thought of them. That is a conceptual mind at work, not a linear mind. That's just one item. You're already seeing that in the kids. Grandparents, isn't it interesting how your grandchildren are trying to put together things for your children? And you know what I'm talking about. They're trying to solve the family problems, and they see things that their parents don't. They see it clearly, and their parents don't, because they're conceptual. They can see through falsehood because they're conceptual. They're not led down a linear path where they make a left or a right choice. They see it all at once. Your innate is going to start talking to you clearly if you're listening to something which we have always called your intuitive mind. Now, intuition has an attribute that most human beings don't like, and that is to say, it seems to be fleeting. It comes in a flash and it goes away. It does not linger. It does not explain itself. And the human being is used to something that comes and sticks around, proves itself, honors itself, explains itself. And then you go, okay, I'll listen. But intuition does not do that. You get an intuitive flash, a thought for a moment, and you tend to discount it. Now, your innate is going to start giving you information about your own body in flashes that only you will understand, for it is specifically unique to every single human's path. I cannot give you a generic answer to anything, but your intuition will. And this is going to start happening automatically without you asking, and that may be irritable. Imagine being awakened in the middle of the night by your intuition. And then asking, what was that, as you try to go back to sleep? Expect more of it. You're going to have to start honoring that flash and learning to decipher what it says. In a quantum state, you do not have the linearity of something that comes and presents itself in a way that you like for so many seconds so you can analyze it. Instead, it's going to be presented in such a short amount of time you'll wonder if it was even there. Intuition. It's a thought group that presents itself to you that is an instruction set for you that gives you what's ahead if you listen. For what is ahead is based upon potentials that are known, not future telling, not a psychic ability, but an analysis that is quantum. That's what you're going to start getting. You'll know what is around the corner before you get there, because your intuition already knows it. Because in a quantum world, that knowledge is set and known as the strongest potential that will occur. In a three-dimensional world, it is a total and complete mystery. So communication is going to start increasing between that which is the quantum self and the linear self. You're not going to like it. Not all of you are going to like it. Because it's going to present itself in times when you didn't ask for it. And it's not going to be there when you do. Now, why would such a thing be? You're going to have to get used to this, dear ones, that the quantum parts of you do not have a clock. They do not respond to timing as you want it to be responded to. So how do you work with this new attribute that's going to start occurring? And what will it feel like? The instructions are these. Understand it's coming. That there will be something that would appear to be unbalancing that your brain is going to do for you in a new way that you're not used to. A new kind of communication with your subconscious. Here's what you need. Here's what you should do. Don't trust that person. Don't go over here. Turn left. Turn right. It's always what you want. Believe me. It's always what you ask for. but you're going to have to learn it. The children of tomorrow are going to come in knowing how to read it. And that brings up a subject which is probably the most difficult to ever have tried to explain to humanity. And that is how the communication of self works. There's something you have called synchronicity. It is the trust that when you put out intent, Spirit hears you, and that somehow magically there will be those you will meet in the future who will have answers to questions that you have today. That things will be magically moved around and put together in ways that you have asked for, or not asked for, but which were better than you asked for. And you'll have no idea how it's going to happen. And you trust it. And you should. For this is the new communication. This is the way of it. It won't make sense in linearity. It never does. How can you know what you don't know until you know it? But you can trust you'll know it. Do you see? You can have the energy of co-creation on things that you do not know are coming, but you can trust in the fact that they will come, even without knowing what they are. Now, I want to give you some information that my partner has taught in the past, and I want to make it very clear. And many of you will not like this, because it is not what you were told in basic metaphysics. It starts to explain that which is around you, you call guides and angels. And I'm going to give you some information. You can call them whatever you want, but they're not what you think. I'm now going to explain the engine of synchronicity. I'm going to do it quickly so that you can review it slowly. And here is the truth. When you stand on the other side of the veil with me in the wind of birth, you are a piece of God. You have a light that cannot be understood, a multidimensionality that's playing, that shines like the sun. The brightest light you've ever seen in 3D is what you look like. Beautiful, with your name ringing in light with colors you can't imagine, vibrations that don't exist on the planet. That's who you are. And then you come into the planet, and you're not. Now I'm going to use some 3D logic with you to try to explain something that is unexplainable. What happened when you got here? Where's the rest of you? It's true you have the Merkaba, named by Elisha when he saw Elijah's ascension. Elijah turned into the piece of God he was and blinded Elisha with the light. That's who you are. The bottom line is you're not all here. What happens when you come into this planet, dear one, is that you split. Only part of you comes down. There is what we would call the tether, a multidimensional cord, perhaps, that is silver, if you want to imagine it, that is the portal that connects your higher self in your body to the rest of you on the other side of the veil. Not in the sky, dear ones. The other side of the veil. So you are in communication at some level with that which you left on my side. I want my partner to explain this better. When you come into the planet, dear ones, only a part of you comes, and the rest stays with me. Not with me, but part of me, because I am also part of the soup of the creative energy you call God. We're not isolated into boxes as you see in 3 dimension. We're part of the creative soup of all that is. You call me Kryon. You want to put a face, skin and wings perhaps, give me even a color. Oh, how 3D of you. I speak for the group, the family that you belong to. And I would like to tell you that I sit in a place on the other side of the veil with you, because a lot of you is here. You had to leave it behind. Here with me. The corporeal you is only a part. Now you would understand this. If you were to take on the full complement of your creation, you would vanish. You know that. So what I'm telling you is you're in 2 places at once. But now it gets bizarre. Part of you comes in with you into this planet and splits out to become multidimensional and follow you around. These are called guides, and they are you. And you are loving them. You're in love with your guides. Now you know why. They're you. You give them names, perhaps. You even change them. Do you know what the guide change is all about that I told you about 22 years ago? Do you know what the guide change is really about? That's a refreshing of you. It's so different when you go through this refreshing process. It's almost like, in your terms, you rebooted your computer and you got new parts. So refreshing is it that your guides look different. They're not. They're still you. But they're vibrating at a higher level. And so are you. I'm giving you the mechanics of what I'm about to call the synchronistic engine, and I'm not even there yet. So here you sit, human being, the corporeal you. Part of you is on the other side of the veil. Part of you is in your body, the part that you see in the mirror. You've got the higher self, which is the multidimensional soul part, and you've got the guides, which are the other part of you that split out when you came. That's quite a family of you. And that is the multidimensionality of the soul. It's in many places at the same time, just like God. Now, what are we going to do with this next? I will tell you. Now you start to become multidimensional, and you put together something we will call intent with an energy. That's an energy of confluence. Intent is an energy of confluence. That means it goes someplace, melds with something, and has action. It's just not a thought that you throw into the clouds, if you didn't know that. It goes somewhere and does something. And here comes your intent. And the intent goes like this: Dear Spirit, I wish to have the solution to the problem in front of me and the ones to follow that I don't even know about in ways I cannot conceive. And I trust Spirit for this. Blessed is the human who has the courage to do that. Instead of saying, Dear Spirit, here's what I need. I need you to do this and that. That boss that I have, get rid of him. I need to have more money. I need to pay this. I need to do this. Oh, how 3D. Spirit may have something a whole lot better than that. Dear Spirit, I trust in synchronicity. I am going to have things come at me because I'm going to get out there and check, go to meetings, go to places. Listen to my intuition, which is new and is going to help me and work with me. Pay attention to my dreams so that I will be in the right place at the right time to have those meet me who I don't know yet. Now that is a light worker. And I am just told, I am just going to tell you how this works. So get ready. The intent goes out, the confluence of energy is seen, the meld is created. And the pieces and the parts of you that are on my side of the veil meet with the pieces and the parts of other human beings, all of whom are there with us. You do understand, do you not, light worker, that every single human being on the planet has part of them on my side of the veil, just like you do. It doesn't matter if they're enlightened or not, if they're old souls or not, they still have part of it with us. And if you get my gist, they're on my side of the veil where all is known. Therefore, they're in the program with you, even if they're not when they're on the earth. Did you understand that? The one who is the sand in your oyster, the one that's giving you the most problems, the one who creates the energy which you feel is dark, has a piece and part of them on my side of the veil that isn't dark, and responds to the confluence of your intent, putting them in the right place at the right time to help them and you because you gave intent. I'm giving you the engine of synchronicity, which actually will be peaceful on the planet, and it's going to bring you energies you don't expect, and this may be cryptic, but I am telling you that the pieces and the parts on my side of the veil is what creates synchronicity because of what you do here. The guides around you push and pull you and get you to the right place if you listen to them. That's how it works. You got a whole team of you working for you. It's not magic. It's not God pushing buttons. It's you working with the others around you. It's family working with family. So what I have just told you is that all humanity works for you. The old soul has the information, the energy to change the crystalline grid, understands about intent, and is the engine for the planet. 1/2 of 1% of the planet is going to change all the planet, because what you do here with your intent, all of the souls on the planet, 7 billion of them on my side of the veil, are working for you. How about that? I've just given you the answer of why things are not going to turn out the way you're told they're going to turn out. Because the 3D engine of doubt and fear and drama is not going to survive. Not when the old souls give intent. That's new. This is the information we're starting to expand on. Many won't understand what I just said. You're going to have to listen to it again. You're going to have to visualize it. And when you do listen to it again, and when it's taught again, shut your eyes and let us give you the picture of what it's like for you to have the tools at your command to create synchronicity that will then create peace on earth. It's not working in 3D. It's not what you think. None of the rules apply that you thought should apply. You're now becoming far more multidimensional, where there is no time, there is no distance. And things are going to work in a way that will shock you. Shock you in their purity, in their goodness. And you will look back someday on these days and realize that this is the renaissance of humanity. Meanwhile, it's not going to happen immediately. Meanwhile, you're here to work. Meanwhile, slow, uncomfortable change. And that is why they call it work. But I just gave you where it's going. I want you to hear this, because you're going to be part of it, now and later. I bring you these things because these are the highest potentials of the planet at the moment. Struggle, drama, old energy that doesn't want to die, leaders who will hold their ground even in death, coming soon. Shocks of where certain countries will go with their new leadership that no one thought they would go to. The wild cards are starting to occur. And it won't be anything that you ever saw in old prophecy. Congratulations, dear one. You stand on the precipice of something that you could only only have dreamed about. And if you don't see it right away, you will. We have no clock. I can't tell you when. Free choice may beat it up for a while, but the potential is so strong. You're going to want to create it. And if you don't, your children will. And if they don't, their children will. And this is why we celebrate you and wash your feet. And now you know. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Indeed, this is the first message of 2019. And there are those who would say, well, I'm not really sure how to act during channeling. There are those who continue to say, I'm still not in agreement that it's possible. It doesn't matter. For just a few moments, we ask you to be in a kind of meditation, in a coherence with this message to the degree you might even hear it coming, even before it's spoken. This is a brief time, and we wish to honor you. The messages of Kryon have been happening now for 30 years. In fact, my partner has deemed this year as the 30th anniversary. Now, that happens to be the 30th anniversary from when he began to understand what was with him, what might be happening to him. But, dear ones, he had a preparation that lasted longer than that. And it comes to this: in every single human psyche, you have to make a decision. And that decision at some time in your life is whether you are going to allow for things unseen to at least be presented in a way that should look. And here's what I mean. The man who sits in the chair was an engineer. In some ways, he still is. For there's that streak of show me that continues in him. And it took a long time for him to have allowance of unusual things. Everyone who listens to this, everyone in the room, has had to make these choices. Some of you made them as children, and some of you haven't made them yet. And there is no judgment of free choice. There never has been. But there is logic that we present. And we have done it now for 3 decades. And the logic goes like this. Who are you, really? Are you a product of what you've been told? Or are you one who can think out of the box of what you've been told and do one of two things? Either go out of the box, examine it, and say, they were right, and come back. Or go out of the box and say, you know, there may be some things here to look at. And the box, dear ones, is precious to you. It was precious to my partner because it represented the logic of life. It made sense. It was comfortable. It was not even controversial. The box, dear ones, often becomes that which is most comfortable, what you see around you, what you've been told, what others do, and you don't even realize the box isn't yours. Is it possible, dear ones, that there are things unseen that are far, far larger than anything you've been told. Systems that are larger than anything you've been told. Could it be that even there is a process happening on the planet which is esoteric, which is affecting overall consciousness of humanity? Seen any strange things lately as we sit here? And the answer is yes. What is happening on this planet which is new, which is different, which is unusual, which has never happened before? And the answer is just about everything. It wasn't always that way, was it? And we say to you that this box that you have been in can stagnate very easily as the planet starts to evolve and consciousness starts to change and open. If you stay in that box, you're going to miss it. What does it hurt? To make an agreement with yourself. I'm going to open my box for 2 days. And I'm going to take a look. Now, in a few moments, the scientist Greg will come here. And as is his fashion, he will start a classroom for a little while. And item by item, layer by layer, he will unwrap to you something that is astonishing. What makes it astonishing is that it's science, it has research, and yet you never heard it in school. Here is a scientist who has opened his box to include science and research that points in another direction than anything you've been told. And he doesn't have to sit in the channel, and he doesn't have to go into trance, and he doesn't have to be an entity. All he is a scientist, and the research is positive, and it's there, and he shows it to you. I am telling you something, and the something that I want you to hear very, very clearly is that it won't be long before love is provable, before compassion is seen as the prime directive of Earth. And there is a swing of human nature itself, and science starts to follow it with research. Now, what are they going to find? And I'm going to tell you right now, because I want you to participate in something. I want you to participate in an idea. The scientist Greg will ask the question, is it possible you were here by accident? Did mutant technology from evolution create you? Or was there perhaps strong, amazing intervention that shaped a consciousness of you that actually would allow for a higher power, you call it what you want, to find its way as part of your psyche? You want me to say that again? I'll say it in different words. Is it possible that you were not from here and that God is inside of you? The Adam and Eve story, beautiful, metaphoric, real. Read it again. That story, perhaps that you were told from birth in some cultures, talks about a planet of animals that became human with free choice at a time when an angel came in a beautiful time in a Garden of Eden, which is Gaia, and gave you something you didn't have before. Now that's esoteric. That's spiritual. And the scientist is going to be on the stage in a little while, step by step, leading you almost to that. If there was a plan, if you're not here by accident, what's up? And your box is not going to tell you. Are you interested? So let me tell you what's up. Dear ones, you're in a new energy, and I'm going to call it the energy of magnificence. 2019 is going to be an interesting year. Hold on. It is a catalytic year, and in the field, there are things potentially that may be surprising to you. Humans don't like change. What if I told you these changes must occur the way they occur? In order for you to understand that things are different. And maybe, you'll even back off a little in your judgment and stop and assess and say, what does all this mean? Do you think it could involve me? And then you start saying to yourself, what is it that we have learned from Kryon for 30 years? Number one, you were born magnificent on this planet with free choice. Don't buy into the idea that God gave you free choice at the Garden of Eden and then a minute later judged you on your choice. Doesn't make sense, does it? Not logical, is it? Not loving, is it? Not compassionate, is it? You're magnificent. You always were. And the magnificence of your choice is not judged. And in that, there is freedom to find a higher or a low consciousness wherever humanity will go. And what happened in the time that you've been here is that you went past a marker that even the ancients said was important, the precession of the equinoxes, the measurement of consciousness. You passed that, and you're into a new era. And the era is starting to open up and show you things that have never happened before. Light is starting to be exposed in dark areas, showing you things that were never there before. It's new, dear ones, and you're part of it because you're in this room. And that means that you're probably an old soul. What if you've been waiting for this in some form, in some way? And it carries with it not only a realization that you might be involved in something beautiful, in the change of consciousness in human nature, but not only that, you're coming to meetings to hear the ABC of how it works and what is next and what it might mean. You're in the right place at the right time. But more than that, how do you think you are seen by that spark inside you? Wait until you hear about chromosome 2. So special is it, so beautiful, so unusual, so designed it is. What if there is a portal, literally, from your consciousness to the higher consciousness that you call the creative source? Call it what you wish. A source greater than you, which has imbued life even into the galaxy, like yours. And there you sit. And here's what I want to tell you again and again. You are programmed to think you're alone, and you're not. You look in the mirror, and you see one face all your life. It's a trick, because you cannot see out of 4D. Dear ones, you are in 4 dimensions, but reality is in many, many dimensions. It's provable by your own science, who is looking into the aspects of multidimensionality and quantum fields and all of these things, while you sit there and claim there are none. How long has it been since you've analyzed these things to yourself? Oh, logic one. In 4 dimensions, that's where you build your box. Do you believe in gravity? We'll ask again. And you will say, well, I didn't know it was something I had to believe in. No, you don't, because you're there in it and it works. Tell me what it looks like. What color is gravity? And you will say, well, it has no color. Yes, it does. And if you could see multidimensional, you'd see it. what does the magnetic grid of the planet look like? What color is it? And you will say, well, it doesn't seem to have a color. You're right. Well, does it exist? If it doesn't have a color, that means it doesn't exist, right? Oh, logical one. And you'll say, well, yes, it does exist. Well, perhaps, just perhaps, there are many invisible things around you that are so grand and so beautiful that honor you, maybe even know your name, see you as who you are, and are with you. Did you know that there is an entourage, literally, assigned to every single human on the planet? Even if you are here as an unbeliever, you know you felt it. You felt it. At certain times in your life, you felt surrounded. Sometimes you have to go into the field or touch a tree or be by the ocean or raise your hands and whoo, there it is. It's all there. Invisible love sitting in your lap. And if it could talk to you, it would talk to you in such a beautiful way. I know your name. I know your name. We love you. We love you. There's so many of us. There's only one of you. And that's on purpose. That's on purpose. And then the next question is, with that going on, have you then taken any part in accessing it? Well, I meditate a little. That's a good start. What if you lived with it? What if you wake up in the morning and you can't see it just like you can't see gravity or magnetics or anything, but around you is the love of the Creator imbued in your DNA. That's why you're here. And you say, thank you for loving me. And in that, dear ones, you have a consciousness that starts to create things around you. Did you know that? Did you know that consciousness by itself is a physical, measurable energy? What if I told you consciousness alone will help you to walk from A to B and be in a different place than if you didn't believe it? What I'm saying is, you actually warp what you call chance when you start to believe in the coherence of consciousness, the field that is around you. You slip into a coherent system, almost, if I can use the word, protective. Because you have compassion, you're hooked in, and it controls where you walk and what you do. There are those who will take that out of context and it'll be laughable and they'll roll their eyes and walk away, never understanding this is the gold that you need to cling to. You are so much bigger than you. There's so much around you. And it's on purpose. Part of the reason it exists isn't just for your healing or just for that which is to have you live longer. I'll tell you what most of it was designed for. It was designed for now. Old soul, you've been on a track to be here for a long time. Lightworker, you've been on a track to be here in 2019 for a long time. So that you're an example. When things start to look like they are different or falling apart or negative, and all it is a rejuvenation of what always was there into a better form, you're going to be the one that has to stand there in front of your children and your neighbors and your friends and say, it's a good thing. Look at it differently. I am peaceful in these because we are going to have a change we've needed for a long time. It's going to change the way history works, the way we think. It's going to change our business. It's going to change our politics. It's going to change everything. And eventually we're headed for a planet that will never, ever war with itself. One will be unconscionable to war with itself, to hurt another human being, unconscionable. A higher energy of consciousness, that's where you're going. And you know how I know that? Because I've seen it before. You're not the only one to have had this happen on your planet. That's eye-rolling to many. So talk to me in 10 years. And then reassess, perhaps, whether this is correct or not correct. The ones sitting here are the old souls that have to know about how to control the fear, perhaps, of what an old box would tell you is going on the planet. And instead, a wiser old soul would see the things fall into place and say, yes, I see that. This is going to make some problems. This is going to be uncomfortable. But look where it's going. Look where it's going. Look at the things being exposed. You'll see it this year. Dear ones, I come to you in these ways. Sometimes in a meditative state, sometimes in parables. We're going to do a parable tonight. You'll like it. But right now, this one is about opening just a crack into the idea that there might be far, far more for you than you ever realized. I'll say it again. God knows your name. A name that is sung in light on the other side of the veil, because that's home. And that's where you're missed as you come and you go from this planet, your soul. God beyond measure, part of the divinity of the galaxy and the universe, who spent a little time on the image around you. You're known by God, loved by God, appreciated by God. The end is a return to magnificence. Never has it been changed. That's from Kryon. Use your own discernment in these things, but have allowance for things that might be different than you've been told. I'll be back. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The process of channeling is different for some. There's no right and wrong way. It's an individual way, unique to the human being. There are those who channel in this room. I know who's here. You do it in your own way. You do it through intuitive processes. You get what you get and you speak what you speak, and it's accurate. That's channeling. What you see is a direct connection here with my partner and myself, and it's been 26 years in the making. He is comfortable with it. He steps away into a place that we have discussed before where he watches and is comfortable. And what is happening now is we're using everything that the human being has, his culture, his language, his intellect, and his willingness to be clear, in order to talk to you in real time. Spirit does not communicate in a linear fashion. What you are hearing is his interpretation and translation of a multidimensional message that is coming in many times. He has learned to linearize it for your ears. But at the same time, there's something called the third language. It is multidimensional, and it's coming from this chair. It's talking to some of you right now, and you'll feel it way beyond the words that come. It is available for any who hear the words, even those who listen later. The third language is the intuition communication from Spirit as you listen to me. We are family. That's who we are. We're not teachers to you. We're family. And when you're not here, you are like us. It is so hard for you to believe that you are more than you are. The filter that you have that keeps you human and not something else stays in place as long as you are here. To the very last breath that you take before death, you're still wondering, is it real? That's free choice. It must be that way, dear human. And yet here you sit, Some of you are believing and cognizing the reality of this. Some of you are feeling that I'm here. I've said so many times, I am here because there are things for you to know. We look at you and we say, we're so congratulative of what you have been able to accomplish. Not just that, the willingness to listen, to know, to hear. There are some who are here who tune into this because you're in trouble. For a moment, I want you to suspend that. Did you know you can? There's a part of you that knows better than to buy into that which would cause distress with you. No matter what it is in your life, you can suspend it for a moment and feel the love of God in your life. Only for a moment. To help tip the balance of normalcy. So you can breathe easily just for a few moments. And know that all is well. And that we know you. I want to call this mid-year report of 2015. It's not a long, enduring channel. It is one we want to give you so that you know where you are. We speak of what is happening in a practical way, in a common sense way, to humanity and the old soul. Now there is a difference. For the new energy carries with it attributes that all will feel on the planet in a slow fashion where they won't be alarmed. And then there are attributes that the old souls feel very powerfully, very quickly. And they know it. With a change in the way you think. We talk about the mental attributes of consciousness. And we say you are starting to think differently. This is a difficult one because really, truly, it involves consciousness. If you take a look around the planet and see some of the things that are happening, there are different kinds of consciousness. People are starting to think different, to get together and act differently because there is a mental difference. You can't put your finger on it, and sociologists have not even seen it yet for what it is. There's a softening going on. There are those who will start to understand that they don't have to sit in a certain kind of box anymore, and it's okay to be more expansive, perhaps to think out of the box, maybe to include others more. You can see it in religion. You may actually see it in politics. These are human beings, regular human beings, who are being affected by an energy that is coming at you, and we told you it would be here. Now, in order for you to understand what we're talking about, we have to review. Some time ago, we talked to you about being in a new area of space. Your solar system, as it moves around the center of the galaxy, is entering a different kind of space that has a different energy in it. Ask an astrologer and an astronomer, for they both understand the ramifications of this. An astronomer will tell you it may actually affect the heliosphere of the sun. This then affects that which is your magnetic grid, which affects you. This has been the teaching of Kryon since the beginning. I am the magnetic master, and there's a reason for the name. Therefore, there may be different thinking. It's right on schedule, dear ones, and we said this before, and many of you are starting to see it and feel it. Is it possible that Earth and the solar system is moving into a different kind or area of space with an energy you haven't seen before that literally is on target, on track, timed properly on purpose, in case you had passed that marker of 2012. You needed it. And you're here, and you do, and it is. You're thinking differently. What is the most linear, unstoppable force that is the same that you can think of, that is the hardest thing to change? And you would say, well, from what we have seen, it has to be religion on the planet. The sources of it is old. The belief system has never changed. It is creating problem after problem because there is no willingness to change. And it's changing. You're going to see it, dear ones, in almost all of the boxes you call religion. But one of the biggest has a pope. We told you about it. We celebrated it. Before it happened, we told you you would have a new pope. We told you what he was going to do. At that point in time, you all thought the old one would die. What a paradigm change. It's called a wild card. A wild card is defined as something that happens that nobody expected, that is not in the paradigm that it should be. Imagine having 2 living popes. Even the Vatican is confused. Against all odds, one of them resigned. He didn't resign to die, dear ones. Did you notice? He's still around. And the new one took over. And against all odds, he was from South America. And against all odds, he has started talking differently than any pope has ever talked. Because he knows, in order to save his church, he's going to have them think differently. There has to be consciousness shift within his church to remain a church. It is actually more threatened than you know. There will be more like him who understand these kinds of things. It's the way of what we would call the mental attitude of humanity all over. You're reaching out for things you never reached out for before. The majority on the planet right now want peace on earth. It's the minority who don't care. We'll talk about that more in a moment. Where are you at this point in time? You're in year 2. We told you this before, dear ones, that this new energy was measured from 2014. 2013 didn't count. You were too busy with recalibrating yourself. And we were there for it. 2014 was year 1. This is year 2. How are you doing? Have you talked to a 2-year-old lately? How are you doing? You are beginning, and you're doing well. What are the biggest issues that you are getting through? Fear. That's the first one. And you're doing it well. Against all odds, you're seeing what is in front of you, and you're starting to realize and recognize this is why you're alive. Old soul, this is what you waited for. And even though it might be tough going, it's finally here. It's here. Now, how do you use it? How do you recognize it? What does it mean? Can I say something to all of you at this time in your planet's history? Relax. These things are going to start becoming clear as you go. Part of the mental realignment, or what we will call the evolution of the consciousness of all those on earth, is that they're going to start wanting to have their spirituality make sense, instead of just following the rules of their parents. It's going to have to make sense. You're going to see some major spiritual groups be exposed. You're going to start seeing those who make a difference, making a difference in a different way. You're going to see some awakenings within the church, even all churches, when they start seeing that which is the basis of their attendance, which would be those in priesthoods, dwindle because it's not making sense. And that's when they will start changing things. Others will have a resurgence. And the difference is this: look for compassionate spiritual systems to increase. If it has compassion and the love is obviously there, it's going to increase. Don't make the mistake of linking it perhaps to a master or somebody from the past. I'm not talking about that. If there's compassion and there is love, it will increase. It's a new paradigm. Those who have no compassion and there is no love and it's obvious that it's something else will dwindle. It's simple. Watch for it. You're going to see it. That's a mental shift. Physically, how are you doing? Dear ones, the physical body of the human being is going to have a resurgence in awareness. Now let me speak in terms that are better. Human beings are going to start caring more about what they eat, what goes into their bodies, and a realization that what you have called alternate medicine doesn't have to be alternate. It can simply be another one that works. So start watching this, because it's closer to mainstream than you think, dear ones. The things that are happening and are being discovered right now, we have discussed before. You're starting to move into a new paradigm of healing that's going to involve more kinds of energy than chemistry. And so look to this. You'll see not energy work as you call it in the New Age, but energy cures. That is cures and health remedies that involve that which is physics as much as that which is chemistry. Sometimes it will be together. It's coming. In some ways, it's already here. It's new. So physically, for you, both for the human race and for the light worker, you're going to start responding differently to these cures. Now there is more. For old souls, you're going to have more of an awareness of how to stay on this planet longer. Did you hear that? Now, this may seem unfair to many. Why is it that a group of people would have a better awareness than others? And I say to you again, it is no different from those in school who have been there for 9 years instead of 2. They know better. They know more. They're able to navigate within the system better because they've been there longer. That is why, dear one, you will start awakening to things that others will not. Years and years ago, as many as 15, I gave you a channel that said there would come a time when consciousness would determine how a person heals instead of the strength of their chemistry. And you're here. And that is what we want to tell you that is different. Today, my partner started to talk to you about some of the new things that he is seeing that are being embraced. In this process, so many of them have to do with consciousness, the physics of consciousness, even that which is energy on the planet, as opposed to new chemical inventions. It is the way of it. You're going to see more of it. But the old soul is going to become more aware of it and faster. Be alert for it, dear ones, for it's almost like something that sits in front of you that you will see and others will not. Let synchronicity bring you things that'll keep you alive longer. The physical body of the human being is starting to evolve through DNA. And in this process, it is the old soul who will have the benefit first. You've been around longer, you've experienced more, your Akashic record is stronger, and it just yells that this is what you've been waiting for. You're right on schedule. There's much to come in this. The third one is spirituality. And now we do not speak of the spirituality you have in this room or even those who are listening. We're speaking of the earth in general. We told you there'd come a day, dear ones, where this would happen, and it is. Do you realize what's going on? You are actually battling duality. For the first time in history, this planet has a war of dark and light, not of country against country. Do you see it? We told you it was coming. We said that there will be organization of darkness. The ones who are invested in keeping things the same, under the guise of a spiritual system, will create darkness, and it will frighten you, and it is. We've also given that which is information as a review, that the fear that they want to develop, they know, will stop you if you let it. That's all they have. You're doing well, for you're seeing it for what it is. There are some who are afraid, indeed. But the old soul has seen it before. And the old soul knows that it cannot harm them, because light will eventually win. What you see going on right now is very interesting, and let me tell you and paint a picture. Isn't it interesting to you that such a force could be gathered so quickly and move into so many areas, and the governments are not doing anything about it? This is because you're looking at a paradigm that has caught them all by surprise. They're used to fighting languages and countries and ideologies, not that which is dark. They're having a difficult time even agreeing that it's a problem, because they think it'll go away, and it won't. It's going to get worse before it gets better. There will come a tipping point where they'll all understand it finally and join together, and it will be the consciousness of the planet against a few. They won't have a chance. But not right now. So I use what you're seeing on TV right now as proof that these words are accurate and true. Your governments have never seen anything like it. Therefore, they have a tendency to discount it. They have a tendency to say it's going away, it's a fad, it's a flash in the pan. It isn't. It's new. It's the darkest thing you can imagine, and it's able to recruit from anywhere. Because darkness is anywhere you want to look. Dear ones, by free choice, you have those who think this way everywhere in any walk of light. Any walk of life. The light really doesn't matter. They could be in a place that is well lighted spiritually, and they still, you don't even know it, will think in the dark. This is a challenge of duality. They will be attracted to the dark. This group will have no trouble pulling out recruits from the strangest places, even the church. Darkness will attract itself, because darkness is having trouble with the light around it. Again, light is active, darkness is not. Therefore, light will win if it's turned on. It's not being turned on. It will. Do not concern yourself overly with what you see as far as your future. I say it again. It's right on schedule. And could I say this to you without giving away anything? Those that are your seed parents, that you call the Pleiadians, had the exact same thing happen. Every planet of free choice that moves past that marker where it starts to graduate has the exact same problem. A battle for the old ways, a battle for the dark. Isn't it obvious when you look at it? The dark and the light. Can you see compassion and love, and you can see the absence of it? It's becoming more defined for you, isn't it? That is because you're evolving. There was a time when people could not see that, and now you see it very clearly. Finally, there is this. There is a wild card coming. All that we see that is the potential of the planet in the overview leads us to say this. And the wild card is not a bad one, any more than the last one you had, which was the fall of the Soviet Union. The wild card may actually be something that no one expects against a paradigm that nobody thought was there. It has to do with inventions. You're going to start getting some odd ones. They're not scheduled. But then again, none of them were that you received. Now let me back up. And I want you to follow me and connect the dots. Dear ones, the greatest inventions that humans have were all given to you when you needed them. You might say that inventions progress in a logical way. As you invent one technology, it leads to another and to another. You would be correct, mostly, but not with the wild cards. The last one you had that you were ready for was flight. It's not much more than 100 years old. You see that, do you not? And yet humans have been flying kites for thousands of years. They've been watching birds as long as birds existed. They have been looked to the skies and saying, I wish I could fly. And yet, something as simple as you know now about flight was so elusive. You got it all at once on the planet. You claim it as an American. An American inventor gave you flight. 2 bicycle makers figured it out. And the whole history never did. You only beat the French by 2 weeks. They were all working on it together. Dear ones, inventions are given to this planet when the consciousness is ready for them. The same was with radio. This was also given to you when you needed it. It was not a natural extension of another kind of invention. The same was with Tesla's alternating current. No one could ever think of that unless he was a master who had the knowledge before he came in. By the way, if you take a look at his life, he had much more to give you. And none of it stuck. When you see something like this, you have to know that inventions are something that you receive when you need it. There's another one coming. There's actually 3. I cannot tell you when, how, or where. I will tell you that you're right on schedule for another phase, another wild card to look forward to. A good one, dear ones, like the other ones have been. And it's time. When you see it, you'll know it. You'll say, against all odds, this is different. What a deal. Dear ones, we're happy to give you all of this information in this day. That's where you are. Other planets have been right where you are. There's no surprise. From our standpoint, as we look at you, there's no surprise in year 2. Growing up, identifying the new energies, getting rid of the bullies, growing up. Peace on earth is guaranteed if you continue. Peace on earth will be necessary for some inventions. And that's so you will not weaponize them. This is coming. Peace on earth is not the end, it's the beginning. It was for the Pleiadians as well. Peace on earth comes with consciousness that has wisdom. It is part of that which is the new human. Now, in summary, where are you? You're discovering a compassionate earth. The old souls are awakening to a new energy. The dark is fighting you because it's afraid of you. Your news and your media is old energy, and you know it. There are new kinds of media and news coming that you can turn to that are balanced for programs you want to watch instead of those that you are given to watch. All of these things are before you. Personally, dear ones, physically and mentally, you're in year 2. Can I tell you this? Loved beyond measure, we want you to stay. We don't want you to be frustrated. But when you're recalibrating, for some of you listening to this, when you're recalibrating, all of those things don't mean anything. It is so tough for you. Hang in there. And know that there is part of you that knows all about what you're going through, that holds your hand and says, hang on. There is love. There is compassion. There is purpose. You'll get through it. Good news. And so it is.